and welcome to Teletalk. I'm Liv.
And I'm Ben.
And on this episode, you'll hear our carefully considered and not at all random thoughts on a show we like. There will be spoilers.
We're giving ourselves an age rating of 15 and above, but you're welcome to make up your own mind. Listener discretion is advised.
And if you're liking what you're hearing, please do rate, review and subscribe. And again, thank you so much to everyone who has already done that.
You can contact us on our socials. We're at TeletalkPod on Blue Sky and on Facebook, and you can email us at teletalkpod@outlook.com.
So this episode we are covering Married at First Sight Australia, Season 12, Episode 21. It's the fourth commitment ceremony, and here we are to be the armchair experts.
We are experts in armchairs and armchairs in experts.
We know nothing, and yet we like to talk anyway.
I know what I likes and I know what I don't like.
Absolutely. Now, my first impression of this episode, just from that what's happening this time, is... oh my god, there is so much drama.
So much tea is being spilled.
Yeah, like, oh my god. Shall we get straight in? Because we start with Tony and Morena.
Yay!
I got there.
I am not enjoying the artificial producer drama this year.
I know, it does feel very superficial and artificial, as you've just said.
So we're talking about the fact that, once again, a member of the participants comes in late to a commitment ceremony, and it just feels so engineered and so synthetic. Because
last time we sort of bought into that, and it's happened again, and now it's making us question the whole thing.
You know, we're getting into the realms of like WWE wrestling and like stage promos and stuff.
Especially when, as Morena walks in, she takes up a lot of space. She flings her arms out. She uses a loud voice to announce her arrival. And she says something like, "You didn't think I'd let him have the last word, did you?" And it just felt very, very performative.
She might as well have run in and hit him with a folding steel chair. And just been like, "Ha, I'm here."
But as it is, they pretend like this is all natural. Nothing staged about it.
Yeah, I don't know whether Tony was in on it or not, but he does start running his mouth before they let her in.
Well, I don't think he particularly changes once she's in the room.
Well, no, that's true. He's like, "I've no idea why she's not here." And I'm like, "It's because you treated her like a dick. That's why."
Yes, because Morena is not happy. And I noticed your theory about her hair is completely wrong, because she has got curly hair in this episode and she is not happy.
Unlike you, who's delighted.
I am so happy that you are wrong.
Wow, someone's keeping the receipts.
I am, yeah. I just saw that and I was like, yes! Bringing this up.
I mean, I feel like I threw it out there as a sort of light-hearted theory.
Yeah.
And you're like pinning it on me as like I'd staked my reputation, such as it is.
Oh, I'm loving it. It really helped me.
Helped you?
Yeah, helped me feel good about this episode.
Right,
I had a tough time with the last one, and then as soon as I saw that, because this is our first couple, I was feeling a bit more lighthearted and sort of ready to watch.
10 out of 10, Ben was wrong. Liv approves.
Yeah, Liv approved. It's like a new seal of approval.
Right.
It's like Liv approved.
Unbelievable. But yeah, it's really interesting because we have sort of another couple where part of the theme is you are restricting me, you are constraining me, and that's Morena's perspective on their situation, that he's tried to push her down and stop her being her, and tried to put her in a box or put a lid on her, as she calls it.
Yeah. Now, Tony, when he's talking, is talking in absolutes. He's saying she always does this and never does that. And she claims that he doesn't even know her. Now, I wondered, how much do you have to actually know someone on a deep level to know that their personality might be too strong for you or not strong enough for you?
Well, it's difficult because I look at her and go, I know you're too much for me. You're scary. And that's not a bad thing. Like, that's just a type, a personality that gels or doesn't gel with. What I think part of the issue here is whether or not he's determined that she's too much for him.
Yeah.
He's strung it along and hasn't been upfront with her, I don't think.
Yeah.
And it feels like her instinct of he's just pulling excuses out of his arse at the moment feels quite true.
Yeah.
Like this whole I want a kid thing at 53, and he hasn't even told the experts.
Yeah.
And his feeble, oh, I thought I told you.
They are very strong in their response to that. Like, no, you never mentioned it.
That felt like such a teenage boy.
They must have trawled back through all their interviews, because they always film them, and all of the application form, so that they could come in hard with that.
And of course, I don't want to sound funny about it, but if a 53-year-old man coming onto the show said, I want a child, I feel like they'd remember that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but I am saying it stands out.
It would impact their pairing for him.
Well, yeah, as Morena points out, like, that's not really viable for me. And there's different ways to have kids, obviously, but it's really interesting that it's only come up, 20 episodes into the show? Or, you know, in the late teens in numbers of episodes. And it just feels like he's coming up with reasons. And to be fair, like, his behaviour at the dinner party by telling her to her face, your personality's the shits.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever else, like, that's not okay.
Yeah, you're so right. Because that is very hurtful. I almost feel like, and listening to you just now, that his baby thing was perhaps an attempt to not lay blame with anyone. So she can't help how old she is, and he can't help wanting a baby, so that's no one's fault. But then laying on top of that, your personality is in the shits, that is very personal.
It's sort of like, well, which is it? Like, what is it? Because she very much latches on to, ever since you found out about my age, you've not been interested. Like, she alleges that he dropped her hand at that moment on the wedding day and stuff. It would be interesting to know how true that is.
Maybe a little bit of rewriting history for her to try and make this make sense now.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I feel like he probably has wasted her time
here.
Because it doesn't seem like he's been that interested from the off.
Yeah.
And she has, for however she carries herself sometimes and however abrasive she has been, she is there trying and in her own way crying out for participation.
Well, let's not get away from the fact that when she toned her personality down with real effort on her part, he was able to have fun and he did engage then. So that's her saying, he's putting a lid on me, and then he likes her. So they're just not compatible.
Well, yeah, and of course, it seemed like really the only concession he made was to not do a Houdini. Like, all the onus was on her to change her approach and her combat style and her personality. And really, from what we've seen in the snippets that we've seen, all he's really done is go, I won't disappear.
Yeah, I suppose that's right.
And then, once that starts going well, he's then gone, I need to throw something else up. Maybe not quite so calculatedly, but that's what it could look like from the outside looking in.
Well, Tony says leave and Morena says good riddance, which I'm interpreting to mean leave. And then she storms out of the building and she's gone.
Yeah, I was just going, that's not one of the options, Marina.
Yeah.
Yeah, she proper does storm off as well.
Yeah, and people are sort of watching her go and they're just like, okay. Now, I think she missed out on some juicy details from other couples.
Maybe she'll watch.
Yeah, she'll have to watch the edit that gets put out there.
She's not going to watch.
So, shall we move on to Jamie and Dave and talk about something a bit lighter?
Bring in the Jave.
Yeah. So, they referred to having to work through stuff. And I thought, will this make Ben happy to know that they've had stuff that they've worked through?
Yeah, but what have they worked through?
Well, we don't know because we're only watching these episodes.
I'm not going to make you happy.
Right.
Because I still don't think any of the stuff that he said reached his eyes.
Oh, God's sake. Why are you so hard to please?
Well, to be fair, I think the experts feel the same as me. Because one of the things they ask are, Dave, are you on the same level with Jamie? And he kind of goes through the, well, yeah, I am, and etc. It felt like empty calories to me. Like, there's no authenticity there. And again, it might just be the way he expresses himself, but I just didn't see it reaching all of his face, and he wasn't like smiling. He was sort of grimacing a bit when he was talking about stuff. And like when he stays, he pulls the same gurning face. He doesn't actually, to me, give off any genuine reactions when he's put on the spot on the couches. Even when they were going back to their couch afterwards, his smile isn't there. At most, he's sort of like straight-lined mouth. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
So I'm in my head, I'm now running through all these options. Like, maybe he just doesn't like the camera, or maybe he just doesn't like the one-to-one aspect of the couch, and all of these things. I do see what you're saying, but I like to believe him.
Oh, I'd like to believe him too.
No, I like believing him.
Right. Like I said, there's something in my instincts that say, I'm not sold.
You're worried about what could come for them in the future.
It's just that the line of questioning from the experts gives me pause for thought and makes me think that maybe they also have those same reservations. Because that was one of, 2 questions they were asked.
Yeah, but he did say that he's making mental space for her. He's planning a future with her.
He said a lot of things, but saying things is easy. His non-verbals didn't necessarily give me that vibe.
Well, this is very frustrating for me because you've been going on and on about not hearing from him, and now that we are hearing from him, that's not enough for you.
But when I have heard from him, I have felt it's inauthentic.
Oh, you're so annoying. Right, let's leave them there. They both stay, and we will have to see if you're right about the future for them.
Can we bring on Jackie and Ryan?
Your new favourite couple, right?
Yeah, and I found this surprisingly mundane.
Oh, do you know what? This started between Jamie and Dave's, and it continues through Jackie and Ryan's and Rhee and Jeff's. We cut away, and their talking gets very minimised, and we see Athena and Adrian having a confrontation, whispered, over on the other couches.
We see Adrian trying to assert his preference on Athena.
Yeah, well, he's telling her what to say and what not to say. Now, I thought while they were doing this, during Jackie and Ryan's conversation on the couch, that she is going to be pissed when she finds out that her time on the couch has been overridden by another couple.
Yeah.
Because this reminded me of Rhee going up there and talking all her time about Jackie. I think when Jackie watches this, she's going to be hella annoyed.
So if Rhee's actions were crimes against humanity, what were Adrian and Athena's? Were they like crimes against the universe?
Universe, it's got to be, right?
Intergalactic warfare.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that the thing that really made her realise that Ryan was the person for her was she asked him if he knew what a data centre was.
I mean,
but I just love this is like almost their calling card, or hers is like, hey, the thing that really made me love him was something really absurd and banal. And it's just really odd. There were little nuggets of absurdity in this fairly mundane, by their standards, sort of interaction. Because Ryan, jumping in on the weirdness, sort of went, I'm really proud of how we've done this week. I'm really proud of the way we've carried ourselves, and I'm proud of the dinner party experience. And I'm like, please explain. I don't get it.
I noticed that Ryan was constantly delivering compliments to Jackie. It was consistent throughout the whole time that we saw them in this episode. And I feel like this is his way of maintaining some level of status quo between them. He just needs to constantly drip feed her what she needs, which is self-embellishment, I suppose.
And in the pattern of them sort of mimicking other couples, which seems to be an ongoing thing, they threw out there, oh, we've been intimate, as if they hadn't already been. And they got the most glorious half-assed round of applause.
I know, everyone was like, hooray,
Yay.
like, we don't think you're going to last.
I mean, yeah, I was surprised at how quickly we moved on from them, but by their standards, they were fairly stable. I guess it's like, we got bigger fish to fry, these guys are boring by their standards, let's just move on.
Yeah, and as I say, half of their time was devoted to Athena and Adrian, but we don't see them next. Jackie and Ryan stay, and then we move on to Rhee and Jeff.
Turns out they had a great family and friends meet-up.
I know, and how lovely to hear that Rhee's mum is now connected directly to Jeff.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Like, she's sort of welcoming him to the family. It feels like they're basically married off already. I know they're all married off already, but you know what I mean.
The integration is really happening here.
He got the seal of approval.
Yeah, he did. And, unsurprisingly, they stay.
I think, just to double back a second...
Okay.
I think this is a good illustration in comparison to Jamie and Dave. They felt real, authentic, warm when they're talking to each other. Their body language and their non-verbals are all very effusive and very authentic. There's just an intangible thing about them where everything they say just feels real that I don't get from Dave. I do from Jamie, but not from Dave.
I do understand what you're saying, but I don't like it.
Okay. I reject your reality and substitute my own.
I don't want to accept what you're saying.
Okay, well, speaking of not accepting what people are saying, Adrian and Athena.
Nice segue.
Oh, yeah, it's like we meant it, but we didn't. I'm just great.
Oh, Athena and Adrian.
I found several things very disappointing about this interaction, but none more than the fact that after all of that back and forth and postulating and everything, she is suppressed by him and she does shut down.
Yeah.
And the experts, I'm going to declare it here, the experts are shit.
Yeah.
They are terrible. I am disappointed.
Incredibly disappointed.
Especially in light of other stuff that they are coming down on, like 7 tons of bricks. They are enabling Adrian and they are suppressing Athena.
And my God, I hate his smug face.
Oh, I know. You're thoroughly with me now here, aren't you?
Well, I like to try and think the best of people and hope for change. But that smile, oh my God. It winds me up so much.
The hypocrisy, the excessive level of control that he is trying to turn into coercive control. It's alarming and it's so out there and blatant. The whole group is against him.
Yeah.
Dave calls him out.
Yes.
And the experts basically shut Dave down and sort of reassure Adrian. What's up with that?
Which bit are you referring to?
Well, when Dave called Adrian out and was like, look at her, she's not talking, you're not letting her talk. She looks distraught. And the experts are like, well, that's a serious accusation, Adrian. Why don't you talk about it? And then just let him wave it away. I don't know. Because I wrote Dave to the rescue and I was very premature.
Well, I was hopeful when they started questioning Athena as to what she likes about Adrian. And John asked her 4 times before she was finally able to give something. What I was disappointed in is that they didn't use that as a reflection of, I don't think you do like him, but then they didn't follow that through. When she provided something, they were like, great, so you've got places to go.
And it gave him, Adrian, loads of time to come up with his answers, which were all very generic. And he kept turning, presumably, to Dave and sort of waggling his eyebrows and grinning his shit-eating grin, going, ha-ha, look-see, ha-ha. And he did the same when he walked back to the couch. I think the most offensive thing to me is that they both stay.
I know. I was
Athena.
so disappointed because she's just prolonging her own pain.
What I found frustrating was they started off by letting him talk and talk about the family thing. And you can see her shutting down. And she's looking to him for permission to talk. And they ask her, do you have to ask his permission to talk? And she has to really think about that, which I think tells you everything.
Yeah.
We're going to dip into other forms of abuse later, talking about them. And those are treated very differently to how this is being treated. And this is so blatant and in your face and unacceptable. And they're not doing anything about it, and I cannot understand why.
Yeah.
It's not fun. The experts are shit. This relationship is appalling. And they're both staying inexplicably.
Well, I suppose it's not inexplicable, is it? Adrian's getting exactly what he needs from Athena, which is compliance. And she is occasionally getting the hint that maybe he could care for her, maybe. Oh,
I found it really interesting. Like, she said her sort of justification for writing Stay is that this week they haven't had the opportunity to step up for each other.
We. She kept using the term we.
Yeah, we haven't because of all the friends and family thing. I'm like, no, in adversity is when you need to step up for each other most. And all he did was try and control you.
But also, the whole point of last week was that he was supposed to be stepping up. She was there. It was him that was lacking.
And the experts validated that. Like, yeah, you're right.
I do wonder, though, if for Athena, there is a large fear around another failed relationship. She has a young son with a partner that she was with for 15 years, and she's no longer with that partner. And I wonder if there is a fear of, oh, look, another one.
Yeah, I feel very sorry for her, and it's becoming harder to watch, but like I said, it's not fun or entertaining, so maybe we should move on.
Yeah, okay.
Oh dear, it's Elliot and Veronica. I think pain, emotional pain, is sort of the theme of this particular discussion on the couch. Because you can see that Elliot is hurting, because he's trying.
Yeah.
And he is getting nothing.
Well, he brings a lot of sensitivity to the couch and to his letter. And he's very open and expressive. And he's met with Veronica, who rolls her eyes and seems completely void of compassion and empathy.
And her response to at the end of him reading it all out was cute. This is what I meant when I said she's got mean girl energy.
I mean, that is mean. I would hope that it's not her whole personality.
It feels like she very quickly moved into contempt for Elliot. There is contempt there, and that's with the eye rolling and her non-verbals. And she is called out on it. And by the end of the couch session, she's very much like, I hear what you're saying, I need to be better. But she's still talking about him in quite condescending terms, like, you know, you met me where you could. And that still feels quite minimising.
It is, yeah.
And that was what she ended with. So that's after coming on a journey. It just feels like she has very little empathy for him.
Yeah, but that probably extends to others as well. Like, I don't think that is limited to just Elliot. I would say her friendship group probably received the same treatment.
Yeah. And the experts, to be fair, call her out directly on this. And fair play, but I'm like, where was this with Adrian? You'll call her out on her shit.
Yeah.
It's so stark. I don't get it.
But equally, I don't think she hears it.
No.
Just like Adrian.
Yeah, but Adrian would at least have a chance of hearing it if they did it.
I think the danger with Veronica is that she makes out like she's heard it. And she goes, yeah, I totally understand. I accept that I can be like that. She takes accountability. It's what she then doesn't do with that.
Again, when she was sort of owning up to all that, none of it got to her eyes. It was all words, but her facial expression was very much fed up. So, yeah, I'm not convinced we're going to get anywhere here.
Yeah, poor Elliot. I do feel sorry for him.
Hasn't the world changed quite a bit? We've had a seismic change where Elliot is a good guy now.
I know, because Elliot and Veronica both stay, and we move on to Lauren and Clint, and I feel like they've done a 180, where I'm now against Lauren and for Elliot.
Yes, and I think that's really interesting. I have thoughts.
Okay.
Again, with the producer hand looming over everything, where they built up this whole... She came into the hotel room and she had to avert her eyes, and it was
just so shocking.
And we were like, what in
She hasn't been able to look at him the same.
Yeah, like, I was like, is he watching porn or something? No, he was doing the dishes.
Yeah.
And I really had to spend about 30 seconds going, have I missed something?
Is that it?
And apparently, doing the dishes means you're not an alpha and you're too effeminate for her.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I hate this alpha man thing.
Yeah, because he describes himself as an alpha male, and within a business setting, he does take charge and take the leadership role. And what it seems like she's saying is not necessarily that she wants a leader, but she wants an arsehole.
She wants Adrian.
Yeah.
You need to go for Adrian. He would fulfill your dreams.
Yeah.
Because I would assume that as a alpha, you should be able to do the dishes and be considerate.
Absolutely.
It's this idea that, you're a leader and so you don't do anything, you just tell everyone what to do.
I know, whereas most leaders, genuine leaders, actually often lead by example.
Yeah, it's too often alpha male just means arrogant dickhead.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, Lauren, the 40s called, they want their trad wife mindset back. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because, I mean, if that's what she wants... In theory, fair enough.
Maybe it's just what she's used to. Because who would actually want that?
I know, it's concerning. You can't take away people's right to want what they want, I suppose. But for me, that feels unhealthy.
Yeah. Well, there doesn't seem to be any romantic connection here. And the experts ask her if she thinks it can grow, and she sort of says yes, but I definitely don't see her meaning that.
And neither does the group. Even Adrian is piping up in the background saying she was going to say no.
Yeah, and he knows what he's talking about.
Oh, he does.
But they both stay.
It's so icky.
Yeah. Clint's all right. It's Lauren I've got the problem with.
Yeah, I like Clint. I'm like, yeah, fair play. He seems decent. He's doing the dishes and all of the other men have got to shut that down.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting that Jamie called over and said, oh, well, you know, if you want, you can come to our flat and do our dishes.
Yeah.
And I think she was trying to do that to lighten the mood and cheer him up. But actually, I feel like that was probably quite disheartening for Clint.
I feel that was also somewhat aimed at Lauren.
Maybe.
Of actually, we'd appreciate that. Like, you're being unappreciative.
I suspect it probably made Lauren think even less of him.
Oh.
The more I've seen from that, the more I went, oh, I get her more now. I think I get her attitude.
Yeah, and she does very much come across as having an attitude.
What's really interesting is seeing Elliot in a new light perhaps reframes our perspective of original Elliot Lauren's situation. And maybe he just peg her for who she is, and he's like, I want no part of that. Whether right or wrong, whether he went about it the right or wrong way, maybe that gives us pause for thought in how we judged him early on.
Yeah. Yeah, fair point.
Because I know who I feel like is coming across better now.
But I feel like Clint is such a nice guy, and I think Athena deserves someone nice like Elliot. I mean, well, Elliot or Clint.
Yeah. Basically, if we could pair Athena up with anyone else.
Someone else, more respectful.
The only way is up with Adrian, really.
I'm not sure about that.
No, what I mean is the only way is up compared to. If we paired her up with anyone on the show.
Okay, not that Adrian himself can improve, but that others are always going to be better.
Adrian seems to be able to find new depths to plummet to. He's very innovative.
Well, Lauren and Clint stay, so that is going to be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah. I would like to talk about a more fun couple.
Yeah.
TJ and Bethany. Or
okay,
Beth.
they just call her Beth, though.
T-Beth.
Beth J.
Beth J. Oh, I almost shortened that even further, and that would be awkward.
Yes.
TJB.
Yes. They're looking great.
Yes, apparently they're just two idiots that get along really well. I love their spirit.
Yes.
I like them a lot. Can we be friends with them?
Yeah, what I really like about this is that she's very open that this is her first relationship, and he does not seem to be taking that for granted. He is sort of accepting and guiding her through. She would, in theory, be open to manipulation, having nothing to compare it to, but that's not seeming to be what we're watching happen.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, your first ever relationship is on Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, yikes.
Millions of people watching.
This is a recipe for success.
Yeah.
But, you know, fair play.
Yeah.
You do you.
It's great to see, though. It's going really well from what we do see.
And they get the now traditional post-boning clap. Post-boning round of applause is probably more appropriate, but yeah.
It was much more genuine, the reaction from the rest of the group, than what we saw for...
Jackie and Ryan.
Yeah.
It was full-arsed rather than half-arsed.
Yeah. Everyone actually cares about Beth and TJ. They've really settled into the group.
Yeah. They're both definitely authentic.
Yeah.
It's funny how you can have that tangibleness and you can really feel it, and then with others, you can't.
Right, let's shut this down.
And open up something else.
Yeah, okay. Another tricky one. We get to Paul and Karina.
Yeah, we chose not to talk about them in any depth in the last episode because of the situation that's going on with them. But we thought we'd at least touch on it a little bit here. And I feel like actually it would probably be better something coming from you, Liv, rather than me, because as a man in this conversation, I feel slightly awkward.
I don't necessarily agree with that, and I think there is often a place for men holding other men accountable.
Which they do in this show. Like, they've been at great pains to show nearly all the other men going, yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah. Which is really nice to see. But the experts hold a firm boundary here with Paul and Karina. Paul explains his behaviour. He becomes quite emotional. Karina shares her side, which is significantly concerning. And I think the experts are concerned by the things that she says.
Yeah.
But they do move into a bit more positivity, and they look for some of the good things that are going on with their relationship, and they talk about genuine, deep feelings. And Paul and Karina both decide to stay.
Yeah.
And after this decision from them, Mel says that they are going to get Paul some emotional regulation support from an external support group. I got the impression it would be to help him de-escalate his feelings when he's feeling very intense emotions.
Yeah, and that's what we said on the last episode that we would hope would happen.
Yes.
Because I think it's very clear that he has a lot of very strong emotions going on. Mm-hmm. And I think he does need support in learning ways of dissipating and diffusing those emotions.
Well, that's it. And I think that's true largely across the board. And when it gets so important like this, you really need to call out that support is what's needed. But making changes on your own can often feel like you're doing that in a vacuum. And what does that mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully the support that he's going to get that Mel has talked about will give him those real, tangible tools for making changes for the better.
It's a really interesting one because we talked about alpha males and that perspective and that idea of alpha males earlier.
Yeah.
And it's really indicative, like speaking as a man and being brought up male and the perspective of what masculinity means, you're only really taught as you grow up that there are two valid emotions, happiness and anger. Those are your two allowed emotions. Big boys don't cry and all of that sort of thing. And so there is that tendency to learn as you grow up to translate complex emotions into one of those two feelings.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy, it manifests as anger. And I think a lot of men, although most people I think could do with learning better how to identify and translate emotions.
Yeah, myself included. It's something I struggle with, of knowing exactly what I'm feeling and then translating that into words and then translating that into a processing aspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we hear Paul talking, what I really hear is him saying how sad he was. And as you said, it looks like that has manifested as anger.
Yeah, and I hope that he can take opportunity where it's given to learn and improve. I think touching on Karina, I think she was in an incredibly difficult emotional and mental position because she has all of these complex feelings, I would presume, around caring for Paul, but then having this behaviour and having to rationalise the cognitive dissonance between the person that she feels she knows and the behaviour that she suddenly experienced, and rationalising those conflicting feelings.
Alongside the new expectations of her behaviour based on his behaviour and what's expected of her now.
Yeah, and trying to walk that line of going, well, I want to continue with this relationship, which is what she seems to want to do.
Yeah.
While also acknowledging that that behaviour is unacceptable. And how do you rationalise that alongside the fear of the perception of yourself from the outside? So she's in an impossible position. I do wonder how much of her excusing of his behaviour or the perceived
It's a sign of love.
It's a sign of her cognitive dissonance between what's happened and what she's feeling, and how she can rationalise and make those two things link up. And obviously, as well as having him weeping and clutching at her, and being faced with three people challenging her and examining it in detail. That's very difficult.
Yeah.
So,
it's very hard because in this situation, she is the victim, but she is now offering support to Paul, who is, in essence, the perpetrator.
Yeah, I think that what this shows is that I think both of them need to have support through this, hopefully separately, so that they can explore and understand individually without the pressure of the other person and their emotions being there and present.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and we say this a lot, but we wish everyone well. We hope these relationships work for people because we appreciate the fact that they go into this with so much hope. And that remains true for Paul and Karina. We hope they can work through this and grow together as a couple.
Absolutely. Okay, so that being said, I think we should take a look back at the episode as a whole and sort of give our thoughts. So how would you rate this episode?
Well, I'm going to rate it higher than the dinner party because I found it more uplifting. I think I really like getting to the bottom of what people are actually thinking rather than necessarily the arguments that they're having. So I'm going to rate this episode an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10?
Yeah. I felt that we did get quite a lot of realness and congruence from most of the couples, and so I really appreciated that.
Okay. I have a different perspective.
Okay.
I'm going to rate it a rather middling 3 faulty experts out of 7.
Of course you are, because we can never agree on our ratings.
No, I know, but I think it's because we focus on different things, and obviously I came out of the last episode on a high.
Yes, you did.
Because everyone I thought should get comeuppance got it. And I said I was concerned that I might be coming into this episode on too much of a high.
Yeah.
And I was let down.
Yes.
Because, again, Adrian was not held to account.
Yeah.
And I see that as just as concerning in many ways as the Paul and Karina situation.
Yeah, he needs help too.
I know I'm very strong in my opinions about Adrian and his behaviour, but he needs support to engender healthier interpersonal relationships just as much as anyone else does.
Yeah. Well, it feels like, okay, Adrian, like he hasn't changed through all these episodes. And you're really feeling let down by the experts.
Oh, yeah.
And you've given it 3 dodgy experts.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Faulty experts.
Faulty experts. And there are 3 of them, so I feel like it's probably, subconsciously or otherwise, it's about them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's so inconsistent because they'll hold other people to account. And we've seen the way that they've reacted reasonably to the Paul and Karina situation. And I just look at it and go, like, the contrast in the reactions is stark with things that are just as damaging.
Okay. Well, shall we leave it there and wait to see what happens next?
Yeah. We'll see you at the next dinner party where I'm sure it'll be off the hook. Do you want to make a prediction on which couple's going to be mad? I know who I think.
Is it Jackie and Ryan?
Yeah! I'm still waiting for a chink in the armour of Jave.
I don't like that. I don't like that you're doing that.
I want to be wrong. I just don't think I am.
Okay. Well, I don't know, because I would say Tony and Morena, but they're gone now.
Yeah, they're gonzo. You can't pick them.
Yeah, so what, are we going to be down to 8?
Yeah. Maybe they'll parachute more couples in at some point if we jet it, because there's a few people that are rocky. I predict, though, that somehow that Jackie and Ryan are going to go all the way through, and then there's going to be a massive explosion at the final wedding ceremony. I just have this instinct that they are going to delude their way to the end.
Okay. I don't know how to answer your question, so I'm just going to say Jackie and Ryan.
Okay. And on that inspired note...
Yeah, sorry.
That is all, folks.
If you have the time, we would really appreciate it if you could rate, review and subscribe to the podcast. Your support really means a lot to us. And again, thank you so much to everyone that's already left us a review and subscribed. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.
Toodles.